Question number 1. The neural connection between the deep branch of the ulnar nerve and the motor recurrent branch of the median nerve is the Ritchie-Kanu anastomosis, the Berrettini anastomosis, the Marinacci anastomosis, or the Martin-Gruber anastomosis. The correct answer is the Ritchie-Kanu anastomosis. The Martin-Gruber anastomosis, described by Martin and Gruber almost 100 years apart, described axons leaving either the main trunk of the median nerve or the anterior interosseous nerve, crossing through the forearm to join the main trunk of the ulnar nerve and ultimately innervating the intrinsic hand muscles. Whereas Marinacci in 1964 described the communication which is a reverse of the Martin-Gruber communication, where there is an ulnar to median communication. The significance of this is that in trauma to the median nerve at the forearm, preservation of the median nerve innervated hand muscles despite denervation of forearm flexors will indicate this communication between the ulnar nerve and the median nerve. The Ritchie-Kanu anastomosis describes a neural connection between the deep branch of the ulnar nerve and the recurrent branch of the median nerve at the level of the thenar eminence, while the Berrettini anastomosis is the communication between the common digital nerves that arise from the ulnar and median nerves in the palmar surface of the hand. Question number 2. Where was the first meeting of the ISSH held, that is the Indian Society for Surgery of the Hand? Mumbai, New Delhi, Chennai, Pune. The correct answer is Chennai. The first meeting of the Indian Society for Surgery of the Hand was held in 1987 in Chennai. The organizing chairman of this conference was Dr. A.J. Selvapandian, and the organizing secretary of this conference was Dr. R. Venkataswamy. Question number 3. The hamate bone articulates with 5 bones or 4 bones or 3 bones or 2 bones. The correct answer is 5 bones. The hamate articulates with 5 bones, that is the lunate proximally, the triquetral medially, the capitate laterally, and distally with the base of the 4th and 5th metacarpal bones. Question number 4. The bands of Bungner refer to the findings in the specific reparative phase of the oligodendrocyte or the axon or the dendrite or the Schwann cell. The correct answer is the Schwann cell. The bands of Bungner are formed when the uninnervated Schwann cells proliferate and the remaining connective tissue basement membrane forms endoneurial tubes. This looks like bands and they are important for guiding the regrowing axon. Question number 5. The Bunnell technique of tendon repair consists of 4-strand locking anchor or 2-strand grasping anchor or 2-strand non-grasping anchor or 2-strand locking anchor. The correct answer is 2-strand non-grasping anchor suture. You can see only 2 strands between the 2 cut ends of the tendon and the anchor is non-grasping, whereas in the modified Pennington type of suturing, it is again a 2-strand but it is a locking anchor suture. The locking cruciate stitch is a 4-strand suture with a locking anchor, and the Tajima suture consists of 2 strands with a grasping anchor. Question number 6. Dimpling of the ulnar surface of the palm on attempted abduction of the little finger is known as the Earl-Vlasto sign, the Mumenthaler sign, the Wartenberg sign, or the Massey sign. The correct answer is Mumenthaler sign. The patient is asked to cross the middle finger over the index finger or even the index finger over the middle finger. This will not be possible in a patient with ulnar nerve palsy, as both the dorsal and palmar interossei which are being tested here are paralyzed. The Wartenberg sign is said to be positive when the patient is not able to adduct the little finger or there is already involuntary abduction of the little finger, flattening of the transverse metacarpal arch and the loss of the hypothenar bulk, leading to inability to cup water in the hand. On asking the patient to forcibly abduct the little finger, there will be a dimpling or puckering of the skin on the ulnar border of the hand, as being demonstrated by a volunteer here. This will not be seen in a patient with an ulnar nerve palsy. Question number 7. The DASH questionnaire is a disability symptom scale consisting of 15 items, 20 items, 25 items or 30 items. The correct answer is 30 items. The DASH questionnaire, that is, the disabilities of the arm, shoulder and hand, is a 30-item questionnaire that looks at the ability of a patient to perform certain upper extremity activities. This questionnaire was developed jointly by the Institute for Work and Health and the American Academy of Orthopedic Surgeons and first published in 1996. Question number 8. The Moschella flap used for reconstruction of soft tissue defects on the thumb is based on the dorsal radial recurrent artery, the dorsal ulnar recurrent artery, the dorsal radial collateral artery or the dorsal ulnar collateral artery. The correct answer is the dorsal radial collateral artery. According to the original description by Moschella and Cordova, this flap is raised from the dorsal radial side of the first metacarpal area and it is pedicled on the dorsal radial collateral artery. Question number 9. The posterior cutaneous nerve of the forearm is given off from the radial nerve proximal to the radial sulcus, in the region of the radial sulcus, just proximal to the elbow joint or immediately after branching from the posterior cord. The correct answer is in the region of the radial sulcus. The radial nerve courses through the spiral groove between the lateral and medial heads of the triceps. In the spiral groove, the radial nerve gives off the inferior lateral cutaneous nerve of the arm, the posterior cutaneous nerve of the forearm, the branch to the lateral head of the triceps and the branch to the medial head of the triceps and the anconeus. Question number 10. How is this fracture described? Salter-Harris type 1, Salter-Harris type 2, Salter-Harris type 3 or Salter-Harris type 4? And the correct answer is Salter-Harris type 2. The Salter-Harris classification was proposed by Salter and Harris in 1963 for describing physeal fractures. It is easy to remember that 5 main types of this classification by the mnemonic SALTR. Type 1 can be remembered by the mnemonic S for separated. The fracture plane passes all the way through the growth plate, not involving the bone. This type of fracture has a good prognosis. In the type 2 fracture, we can remember it with the mnemonic A, standing for above. This is by far the most common type of fracture and it passes across most of the growth plate and up through the metaphysis. This too has a good prognosis. Type 3 fracture can be remembered by the mnemonic L standing for lower. Here the fracture plane passes through some distance along the growth plate and then down through the epiphysis. This has got a poorer prognosis as the proliferative and reserve zones are interrupted. The type 4 fracture is represented by T, which stands for through. This is an intra-articular type of fracture and the fracture plane passes directly through the metaphysis, growth plate and through the epiphysis. This has again got a poorer prognosis. The type 5 fracture can be remembered by the letter R, which stands for ruined. This is an uncommon type of fracture and it has a crushing type of injury which does not displace the growth plate but damages it by direct compression. This has got the worst prognosis. I hope you enjoyed the quiz and the fun learning. Just scan this QR code with your mobile and access the YouTube channel for learning more about the latest in hand surgery.